everybody, welcome to Mike's Garage. Listen, I've been doing a couple little videos up here about different vehicles that we had when we were in the service, Fort Benning and over in Vietnam. Fort Benning, I was in the 818th Engineers 1969, and I was in the 46th Engineers in Fort Benning in 1970. Most of the vehicles we had I already went over. One of the vehicles we had that we used sometimes in Vietnam, but we used it a little bit more when we were out in the field and doing training exercises in Fort Benning. So I wanted to go over that with you. Let me slide out of the way here. It's the water purification units that we had. And the first thing we had was a water buffalo. It was a transport, was a trailer. You put it on the big 2.5 ton, deuce and a half trucks. You load it up. If we were going out, you'd need one of those. They'd take it for the kitchen setup for the mess hall, if you will. They used a lot of water, washing dishes, preparing food and everything. So they needed at least 400 gallons. And we had a water buffalo there. We had another one that we would tow behind the water purification unit. And in Fort Benning, we would go to different spots and do a 3-day exercise. Say we got deployed somewhere like we did for the hurricane in Mississippi that one time. You go out, you set up the water purification unit, you get that working. It filtered the water, chlorinated the water, made it drinkable, made it potable. You had a testing unit that you tested it to make sure it was right. And then you would fill the water buffalo. Took maybe about 3-4 hours to purify 400 gallons of water. And then you would just go switch out the water buffaloes. The one that the mess hall had, you go pick that up, bring it back. It'd be about 2/3 empty, and put a new one over there, a fresh one over there for them. And like I say, most of them used that for cooking. We used it for drinking and different things like that. So we used it a lot. I'll tell you what, when we were dispatched to Mississippi in 1969 to help them recover from the hurricane, we used that quite a bit. And even the civilians, local people would come to get fresh water from us. You got to remember, this is back in 1969. They didn't have water in plastic bottles that came by the case. They didn't have the Coca-Cola and Pepsi plants that would can water so you could give it out. They're really stuck for where you could get fresh water. So that's one of the things that we're really happy to be able to do. There's a lot of different units that were available to us. What we had was we had 2 of the water buffaloes, and we had a truck that had the water purification unit mounted on it. It was that was part of the truck. Some of the other ones that the other units had were portable units that slid into the back of the deuce and a half. You would get the forklift and slide it in. It was all self-contained, had its own engine and everything on it to pump the water. The electric motors and everything worked off the generator, and that's how they got everything going with that. There's also trailers that you had. You could take off a trailer, set it up. You had the outriggers that went down to stabilize it. It had to be level, and you throw one hose into a pond or a stream or something. You had to be careful to how much water you were sucking up, that way you weren't going to start sucking air, or you weren't sucking up too much dirt or sand or gravel, whatever was in there. You didn't want to get that into the gears of the pump. So we had a lot of different things we used there. Pretty simple to use. They did have some guys that were trained on it. Our job was to get it where it needed to be, get it set up, and then they would take over with the chemicals. They usually carry the chemicals in the truck alongside the water buffalo. And so they were the guys that saved you. You always had fresh water with those. And it was a pretty nice unit. The guys were really good, took care of us. So trying not to ramble on, and hope you enjoyed the story with that. We did use it once in a while in Vietnam when we were out on, not a patrol, but some of the units, the A company, B company, C company, were stationed at different places, and they all had to be self-contained. So they had to provide their own fresh water for washing, showering, same thing with the mess hall. So you would go out and set that up, and everybody had their own unit. We always had an extra unit that was fully ready. It was all reconditioned and everything. If something happened to one of those units, they would tear it down, bring it in, get the new one that was already working, and take it back out to the field. You didn't have to sit there and be without water for days until you got it fixed. You always could come in and get one, and while it was there, the guys would tear it down, repair the leaks, repair the pipes, clean everything out, change the filters, and get it ready for the next unit that needed it, and just switch it out and take it back out there. So you're always proactive, trying to stay ahead of the need. So if they needed something, they could just come and get it. Bring me the old one. You take the one that's all ready to go, and leave the old one here. We'll fix it up, and it'll be ready for the next guy that needs it. So that was one of the charges that we had, is to make sure mechanically it worked. We didn't get involved with how many chemicals you put in and actually purifying the water. Like I said, there was a couple of specialists that were trained on how to make any kind of water drinkable. So I hope that was an interesting story. I appreciate the comments. I got a couple guys at Charlie Porch and Ryan. Appreciate you guys for the comments. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Once upon a time in Vietnam. See you guys.